Whenever you're ready, Mr. President.
Roll call.
Festerson. Gurnett. Jerem. Milton. Pauls. Thompson. Mr. President.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our invocation by Council Member Dr. Franklin Thompson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was earlier contemplating what kind of a prayer I would say, coming up with blanks. Then at 1:30, the Spirit came upon me, and then I decided to use my creative juices to write a poem, and I'd like to share that poem with you. It's entitled, In Our Lifetime. Sometimes it appears that we live in the best of times and the worst of times, all at the same time. In our lifetime, we have witnessed both triumphs and failures, victories and defeats, good times and bad times. And all the way from the White House in Washington to my humble house in Omaha, it seems as if we live in a time of paradoxical alternatives, like Indian summers in December, parents some children barely remember, the bitter taste of sweet revenge, or the flowing of mercy from God that never ends. Our lives situated in times light years ahead of our time. The book of Ecclesiastes speaks of a time of peace, a time of war, a time to build up, time to tear down, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to cast a stone and a time to gather stones together. I long for a time when you and I can live together, even when we don't agree with one another. There comes a time every 2 to 4 years, and they call it election time. Some of us use that time to think and reflect, to do the best with what we've been given. Others use this time to lose their minds. Alas, there are some who use this time as a waste of time. Oh, I don't need to vote, they sometimes snarl. All I need to do is play the lotto. Now that's a good use of my time, they fumble and tumble. On this day, I promise you that this time I will turn it around. Or it may not be prime time, but it will be my time to set the record straight. This time, I will not fail to make a difference, even if I only succeed in doing it one person at a time. Thank you.
City Clerk certifies publication of the Daily Record, the official newspaper on May 6th, notice per council and regular City Council meeting May 10th, 2016. A current copy of Open Meetings Act posted in white binder on the east wall of the legislative chambers.
Thank you. This Omaha City Council meeting is conducted in public and by law may only address the topics listed on the published agenda. The council will hear testimony but will not engage in debate of issues with the public at this meeting. During testimony, it is not appropriate to applaud nor convey disapproval. These actions detract from the formal decorum of the meeting. At this time, please turn off or mute or any electronic devices. Mr. Clerk.
Reconsideration. There is a motion by Councilmember Milton and a second to reconsider Resolution 494 adopted April 19, 2016, being a resolution to deny the application of Lex Rock Sports Bar and Grill at 3819 North 24th Street for a Class I liquor license.
We would have to first allow withdrawal. And
no, we first of all we have to have a roll call on the reconsideration.
Okay, on the reconsideration. Okay.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett. Jerem.
Yes.
Milton.
Yes.
Pauls. Yes. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
And now we have a communications from Lamar Brown, President, requesting withdrawal of his application. Okay, the motion is to allow withdrawal and place the resolution on file.
Allow withdrawal and replace the resolution on file?
Correct.
Okay, that's the motion?
Yes, that's the motion.
Okay. Thank you. Before we take the vote, I just want to thank Councilmember Melton for working with me on this. We tried really hard, but we had a young man who was clear about what he wanted to do. He looked at his numbers real good, decided it was not for him to do at this point in time, and you know, he followed all the proper steps. So I hope we see him again, because I think he's going to be a good businessman.
Hope we see him again as well.
Yeah. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
5 is withdrawn and placed on file. Zoning ordinance on final reading planning board attachments, items 6 and 7 are one case. 6 is ordinance to rezone property located southeast of 81st and Dodge Street from limited office district and general office district to general office district. A, planning board and planning department recommend approval. And 7 is resolution of special use permit to allow a hotel in a general office district located southeast of 81st and Dodge Street is hereby approved. A, planning board and planning department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda items number 6 and 7 are today. Proponents, please.
Dan Dolezal, A.R. Griffin and Associates, 3552 Farnham. I'm just here to answer questions if you
Thank
have
you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. The motion. Moved and seconded to approve items 6 and 7. No further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Milton. Pauls. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
6 and 7 are passed 7-0. 8 through 11 are one case. 8 is ordinance to rezone property located southwest 199th Street and Blue Sage Parkway from R6 low-density multifamily residential district to DR Development Reserve District. 9 to rezone to R4 single-family residential district high density. A, planning board and planning department recommend approval. 10 is resolution to replat transmitted herewith and called Tuscan Ridge is hereby approved. A, planning board and planning department recommend approval. And 11 is subdivision agreement is hereby approved.
Public hearing on agenda items 8 through 11 are today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon. Brian Doyle, Fullenkamp Doyle and Jobin, 11440 West Center Road on behalf of the applicant. Kyle Volda, lead project engineer with the ENA Consulting Group. We're both available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents? Excuse me. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve items 8 through 11. No further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Pauls. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
8 through 11 are passed 7-0. Pursuant to City Council Rule 70, agenda items 12 through 14 shall be laid over 2 weeks for publication and public hearing. Pursuant to City Council Rule 7E, agenda item 15 shall be laid over for 2 weeks. Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause an item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from consent agenda shall be taken up by City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by City Council rules of order.
The public hearing on agenda items number 16 through 26 were held on May 3rd, 2016. Moved and seconded to approve items 16 through 26. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Pauls. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
16 through 26 are passed 7-0.
The public hearing on agenda items numbers 27 through 32 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by your name, address, who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. And we are going to take item 30 off of the consent agenda.
Correct.
Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Motion approved 27 through 29 and 31 and 32.
Moved and seconded. No further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Milton. Pauls. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Agenda item number 30 is resolution to quote from Negus Construction, Sean Negus Construction for demolition of 2332, 2334 South 20th Street is hereby accepted and award approved.
Public hearing on agenda item number 30 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Mr. Gurnett.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Jay, would you come down, please?
Jay Davis, Assistant Planning Director.
This is a property located on the northwest corner of 20th and Castelar, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Would you encapsulate how we got to this point today?
Yes. We've had an active case on this property since 2001. In 2003, that case had to be dismissed through a lawsuit settlement that we had with the Metropolitan Omaha Property Owners Association. It came back to life again in 2009. When it came back, we had complaints on the property being unsecure, damaged, people going in and out of the property. That's continued on all the way through today. We've issued notices on this property as late as April 2015 or 2016. I'm sorry, this year, including the demolition order that was given in 2011 after the property had a fire. Going through the documentation that we have in our files, one of the original owners, Mr. Bethea, was actually cited on this and taken to court. And at that point, he did nothing else with it. And like I said, in 2011, it had a fire. If I can show you, I got some photographs that kind of indicate what we've been looking at. So this photograph is from 2014. This is actually the north side of the building. And the reason I brought you that one is I wanted to show you what it looked like in 2016. It's not the same photograph. Same place, but not the same photograph. This is one of the many items that have continued to not be repaired, nothing done with, nothing moved about. It had a fire. That's a hole in the roof. The hole in the roof is now covered with some type of membrane that's allowing the water run through. The damaged material is still in place. So the fire damaged material has not been removed, not been repaired. That's as of April. The front, if you drove by this, there's a photograph in 2016, which we just did in April when we did our final look at for the demo. Nothing again has changed. There were new windows were put in at one time. Those have all been broken out at one point in time. The building is secure on the lower level on the front side, but not necessarily on the back side. The back side has, oops, sorry. The back side has openings where people can get in through and probably have gotten in through on the plywood. So overall, it's been a problem property for us 15 years. It's one of those properties that we haven't had an event yet that's been serious, but it's coming. And it's one of the types of properties that continually drive neighborhood associations and neighbors crazy. When nothing can get done and nothing gets done, then we have a problem property that continues to deteriorate and gets to a point where actually it's not worth any value as anything for reconstruction. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today with this particular property.
The communications that have been generated once the agenda went public, there's an indication of, if you will, historical value. Could you respond to that? I can't find any records other than something that the type of iron or steel
Yes.
that was used in the building.
You're correct. There's been a series of emails going back and forth, and one of those mentioned the historic value of the building. While I'm not one to like to tear down historic buildings by any stretch of the imagination, this building is not listed in any of our areas as far as historic value. It's not on any of the registers, state or federal. It's not even on our local landmark edition. What was talked about is there's some iron columns on the front, similar to what was left on M's Pub, and numerous other buildings. Actually, I think even in South Omaha, several other buildings that have the same material on the front. So its historic value really isn't that much, except for it was a unique ornamental piece that was on there. But sadly, that too has been damaged. This photograph, there actually used to be a wrought iron or a cast iron column that came down here. That's gone, as are some smaller pieces of the plinth work within the actual cast iron work. So its actual intrinsic value has been gone and left at some time when the column went. And again, when you get to talking about historic buildings, at what point can you repair those buildings and bring them back to the historic value that they had originally, you can't let water rot them out. And that's what we have here again. Excuse me.
I would, thank you, Jay.
Yes.
I will shorten my editorial due to the fact that the current owner sent an email this morning informing everyone that the buyer has terminated their purchase agreement with the current owner. I just found it unbelievable that we are within days of a wrecking ball, and then all of a sudden there was a purchase agreement. Somebody wants to buy this building. The history, as Jay just alluded to, owner, failure, owner, failure, owner, failure. To me, that does not add up to something that's positive. In my opinion, and I think Mr. Davis has affirmed that, is that the system has been followed with inspections, notices to each and every owner along the way. I don't think that there was a system failure or a requirement now for a law to be changed, a policy to be established. There's been significant and appropriate and timely notices with this piece of property. And I can guarantee you, for at least a decade and more, that this has been an eyesore for that neighborhood. I lost count on the number of properties that President Gray has fought to remove. I remember one in Midtown that caused. I remember an old lumber yard out west. And some of these now are being developed or in the pipeline to be developed, which is a good thing. And I'm confident that this particular property, once it's made land ready, that we will have someone come out and or jump into the pipeline quickly and put something there that we can get it back onto the tax rolls and it becomes functioned, whether it be mixed use, residential, whatever it might be. And lastly, I can tell you this: there, in all of the emails that have been generated, it's been framed around let's refresh this area, let's refresh this building. Folks, I'm here to tell you there's only two things that was fresh on that building in the last 15 years. And that's the yearly yellow sticker that the inspector would put on it and the fresh coat of paint that the abatement team would put on it to cover up the graffiti. That's the only two things that are fresh in this building. It needs to come down and the process needs to start redeveloping that area. And I'm confident that someone will come along and make that happen. So with that, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item number 30. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Festerson?
Yes.
Gurnett?
Yes.
Jerem? Milton? Pauls? Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
30 is adopted, 7-0. We'll take item 33, and then we'll take the three additional resolutions on the supplemental agenda. Item 33 is Linda Swain, representing Swain Construction, appeals the rejection of their bid of OPW 52650, 180th, 192nd Street, Pacific Street, right turn lane project. And
Been moved and seconded to allow withdrawal. Mr. Gurnett, are you still up? Or you...
No.
Okay. Dr. Thompson.
Yes, I just wanted to say to Public Works Department, thanks for being the type of department that is constantly looking to redefine things and take a second and third and fourth look at things. Oftentimes we don't realize how hard it is for them, but I really appreciate the fact that they took extra looks at this, and then it may lead to some ways in which we do things differently. So thanks again to Public Works.
Okay. No further lights. Been moved and seconded to allow withdrawal. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Milton. Pauls. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
33 is withdrawn, 7-0. Now on the supplement, we'll take items 53, 54, and 55 together. They're all appointments. 53 is resolution, the appointment of Jeffrey Beals as a member of the Administrative Board of Appeals is confirmed. 54 is Michael Gorman to the Zoning Board of Appeals. 55 is Paula Stinson to the Downtown Business Improvement Area Board. They're all confirmed.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 53, 54, and 55 are today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Second.
No.
It's been moved and seconded to approve items 53 through 55. No further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Pauls. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
50 through 55 are adopted, 7-0. Now we'll go back to pursuant to City Council Rule 7D, the public hearing on agenda items 34 through 40 shall be held on third reading. Ordinance on second reading. Item 41, ordinance vacating all of Center Street east of 2nd Street to the railroad right-of-way. A, Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item 41 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Next item.
Ordinance on second reading. Item 42, ordinance approving a redevelopment agreement with Habitat for Humanities to implement the King Science Neighborhood Redevelopment Plan and declaring the necessity of appropriating vacant and improved properties located in the King Science Neighborhood Redevelopment Plan area.
Public hearing on agenda item number 42 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Next item.
Pursuant to City Council Rule 7C, the public hearing on agenda items 43 through 45 shall be held on the third reading. Pursuant to City Council Rule 7C, the public hearing on agenda items 46 through 50 shall be held on the second reading. Item 51 is a chairman of the Board of Equalization's report approval of the plans of assessments at the regular meeting held May 3rd. We need a motion to approve.
Motion approved. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item 51. There's no further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem. Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes. Motion adjourned.
Adjourned.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. No further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Gurnett.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Milton. Pauls.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
We stand adjourned at 2:23 p.m.